so I'm privileged to have the opportunity to not introduce somebody that I don't know. I want to introduce a young man that I met back in the 1970s. And at the time that I met him, he was living in Los Angeles, California, which is where he was from. And even back then, you really don't know. You look at him today and you say, well, maybe he just popped up and wrote a book the last 2 or 3 years ago. When I met him in the 1970s, around 1978 and 1979, he was a revolutionary. When I met him in Los Angeles, California, he was a part of a black collective. Many of the people in that collective I knew because at that time I had some close associations with the Black Liberation Army. At one point in my life, I was a lawyer for Atty Shakur. Other points in my life, when I met AK and I was working in California, I was representing Geronimo Pratt, who at that time was in San Quentin prison, and I was living in San Francisco. And I used to come to Los Angeles because AK, Umoja, and a group of brothers there who were revolutionaries then, who never lost their spirit, was working in the interests of Africans all over the world. Because at the time that I met AK, I was actually working in Mississippi, and I was a part of the United League of Mississippi, and I was actively and deeply involved in the struggle in Mississippi during that period of time. AK had the opportunity and the privilege to come down and meet a lot of the brothers and sisters and a lot of the people who were working with us in the movement, and he wanted to learn something about how we came to do and how we came to be who we were. And I'm so proud. The book that he has now is just one small part of the things that he learned, that he internalized, and that he has utilized to put back out into the public. Conrad, there was a time when we were scared to say that we would shoot back. So, I mean, we really did. A lot of people did. But in the book, what he tells you, as when he met me back then, I was carrying a 45 and an M1, and a carabine, a 30 carabine, and 2 pistols at all times. Now, Kelly, that's not the side of me that I want you to take back to Chicago State, but it is a very true style. And so we helped him understand what it meant to shoot back. And I'm glad today that he has put together a scholarly, academic, and a very well-researched work. This is not just any book. I had the chance to look at the book and read the book, and he's put time and thought into it. He did his research in his home work, and people need to know that everybody was not ducking and dodging. Some people would shoot back. And that's a story of our legacy. Atty Shakur is a representative of that. Geronimo is a representative of that. And I'm very proud to say, AK, that you have made it possible for some of us for a brief moment to come aboard and like come out of our closet and say, yeah, we had a gun too. And so without further delay, he's a professor. He's at Georgia State University. He was at Morehouse College. He's traveled all over this country. He's been to Africa many, many times. I want to introduce the son and really let many of you get a chance to know my brother and sister, because he is the type of person that doesn't like a lot of accolades. And so I said, introduce the son. I'm really, AK, if you don't mind, I'm not introducing him because he's a family person. Umoja, study that name and you know who he really is. And his spirit has been that way. Not just through the struggle of Geronimo and a side of the Black Liberation Movement, Atty Shakur, most of the Black nationalists that I came to know and work with over the years, he also came out, AK came out of that movement, including the Republic of New Africa. I mean, I am honored tonight to bring my brother to his family so you can hear him and he can tell you about the other family, the Mississippi side of the story. Okay.
It's good to be here at home, to be introduced by one of my big brothers. Luke was right, we spent a lot of time together. A lot of times, like he said, he wasn't getting, like Conrad said, he wasn't getting paid as an attorney. So he would stay in my apartment when he was out there working for Geronimo and other folks. And he was one of the people who I really looked up to to see somebody who had great skills, who was a professional, but who was willing to sacrifice for his people. So I want to give Atty Lou Meyers. Now, Conrad introduced some folks before we started, and I just want to say I have a few students in the audience. I want all of my students to stand. All of my students, people who study with me in Georgia, to stand. And my brother, son, he really is my co-teacher. It's my Barnhart School, y'all stand. Now, not only were they my students, but I had the opportunity to perform their wedding ceremony. Yeah. They met when Geronimo came and spoke at Georgia State University, so it's good to see them here. And they continue to support our department. I also want to thank Brother Conrad for bringing me here, for supporting me in this endeavor.